China should be everyone's priority and their number one concern. I know our government likes to talk about Ukraine and Russia, but China is quietly and not so quietly doing things that put America at risk in several ways. China owns a massive amount of real estate in the United States. China owns a ton of real estate in Africa, all over the continent of Africa. China also provides fentanyl through Mexico, and they obviously fund what's going on at our southern border when it comes to fentanyl and Mexican cartels.
Senator Cornyn, more than 90% of the fentanyl, or about 90% of the fentanyl that is brought into the United States.
That's a totally made up number. You had nearly 1 million people get away from Border Patrol, evade Border Patrol's detection and detention between 2022 and 2023. You have no idea how many of those people were carrying fentanyl or other drugs with them, do you?
Senator, the expert view that I received is that approximately 90% of the fentanyl
That's
that is
a totally
brought in,
made up number, Mr. Secretary, and you know it. That's a totally made up number.
Senator, that the expert information that I received is that approximately 90% of the fentanyl is brought in through the ports of entry, through passenger vehicles, through trucks, and through pedestrians.
Mr. Secretary, you understand that you have a credibility problem with the Congress and with the American people, don't you?
I have unflinching confidence in the integrity of my conduct.
No, I'm saying you have told us two patently inconsistent things.
China just brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran in the Middle East. That is so big because anyone who understands any kind of foreign policy, especially in the Middle East, understands that Iran had to be left out of the peace talks when Trump brokered a deal.
The West rivals like Iran are getting bolder, going so far as to plot assassinations of their critics, even right here on U.S. soil. The Justice Department announcing more charges related to Iran's plot to kill activist Masih Alinejad right here in New York City. Her crime, speaking out against Iran's repression of women.
They're also talking about doing the same with Russia and Ukraine and brokering a deal there to stop the war in Ukraine.
China's President Xi Jinping has left Moscow after 2 days of talks with President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders issued a joint statement on Tuesday calling for responsible dialogue to end the war in Ukraine. Putin says Beijing's proposals to end the conflict could be used as the basis for a peace settlement, but that Kyiv and the West do not appear willing to resolve the situation. Let's bring in journalist Yulia Shapovalova from Moscow. Yulia, how much has President Putin actually got out of this meeting?
Well, I think he has to be pretty much satisfied. So many vitally important issues have been addressed during the meetings. The Ukrainian conflict, as he said, economy, trade, energy. He praised Beijing's, of course, proposals for a peaceful settlement of the crisis in Ukraine. He said the plan can be taken as a basis for further agreements. Many, actually, statements of the plan coincide with Russia's approaches. Putin spoke about the growing trade ties between the two countries. Trade turnover between Russia and China has grown 116% in the course of 10 years. What is also important, according to Mr. Putin, the Russian Federation is ready to switch to the yuan and trade with other countries, not just for Russia and China. Yuan payments will be in place for Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America. According to Putin, Russia will increase food supplies to the Chinese market. There will be exports of meat, grain and other agricultural produce. Regarding energy, Russia remains a strategic supplier of oil, natural gas, including LNG, coal and electricity to China. The leaders discussed also the construction of the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline, which will pass through Mongolia. So a plethora of issues which will have massive future impact here.
China just became Russia's biggest customer when it comes to oil. They brokered a deal, and now Russia's energy production is going to ramp up, as well as their wealth. And they're going to be using Chinese money to do business over there. Now, if you look at China and see what they're doing and how they're attacking on so many fronts, I've already talked about the Chinese owned police stations in the United States.
It's been reported that the Chinese Communist Party are operating police stations in the United States in an effort to surveil Chinese dissidents. It seems obvious the U.S. shouldn't allow its most significant geopolitical rival, an oppressive communist regime, to establish police stations in the U.S. What authority or jurisdiction does the CCP have in the U.S.?
Well, Senator, like you, I'm very concerned about this. We are aware of the existence of these stations. I had to be careful about discussing our specific investigative work, but to me it is outrageous to think that the Chinese police would attempt to set up shop, in New York, let's say, without proper coordination. It violates sovereignty and circumvents standard judicial and law enforcement cooperation process, because we have seen a clear pattern of the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, exporting their repression right here into the U.S. And we've had now a number of indictments that you may have seen of the Chinese engaging in uncoordinated quote-unquote law enforcement action right here in the United States, harassing, stalking, surveilling, blackmailing people who they just don't like or who disagree with the Xi regime.
They don't have any right to be here, right?
Well, we're looking into the legal parameters of it. So I want to be a little bit careful not to get out over my skis on that. But suffice to say, I can tell you from an FBI director perspective, I'm deeply concerned about this, and I'm not going to just let it lie.
Okay. Secretary, does it impact Homeland Security at all?
Well, of course, the threat of China is one of the most significant threats that we face in the homeland. It's not only a matter of national security; it's a matter of homeland security in a number of arrays, in a number of areas of our mission.
Do you think you have the ability to shut them down? Do you know if you have the right to shut them down?
I would have to defer to the Department of Justice with respect to the
It would go
legal
to Justice,
authorities.
not Homeland Security. Okay, so it would be under FBI.
Well, or to the extent that the remedies might be some part of the Justice Department outside the FBI, that could also be a possibility. And then there may be a State Department dimension to this that we're looking into.
So when you know they're here, do you know if they're surveilling U.S. citizens? Do you know that yet? Do you have enough information to know if they are?
As I said, we have seen plenty of situations in the past where the Chinese government, under the pretext of going after corruption, have essentially used that as a vehicle to surveil. We've had situations where they've planted bugs inside Americans' cars, for example. And one of the things that we're seeing more and more is them hiring private investigators here in the U.S. to essentially be their agents, if you will, to conduct some of this work. So this is something we're trying to call out.
We owe the Chinese government, it's trillions of dollars. They own us. China owns us in many ways. So the House Committee on Commerce and Energy, or Energy and Commerce, had in a guy named Shu Chu. And who is he? He is the CEO of TikTok. Everyone loves TikTok. All the kids love TikTok. Everyone wants to be monetized. There's TikTok millionaires. They do these little dances, they do challenges, and Americans sit there and just blindly swipe up and watch TikTok video after TikTok video. And I've been saying for years, because we've known for years, that TikTok is owned by the CCP. So if you have the Chinese government, communist Chinese government, running something that so many people here find almost addictive, you're going to have a problem because they now control our youth and the younger people in this society. They are deciding trends. They're deciding what's popular, what's not. So Mr. Chu, or Cho, I think it's Chu, had to speak before our Congress. And they asked him extremely important questions. Does China own you?
No, the testimony that you're about to give is subject to Title 18, Section 1001 of the United States Code. As you state in your testimony, ByteDance is TikTok's parent company. Is it accurate to say that you are in regular communication with the CEO of ByteDance, Leon Robo?
Chair Rogers, yes, I am in
Thank you.
communication with him.
Okay. Kelly Zhang is the CEO of ByteDance China, overseeing Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok. Are you in regular communication with Kelly?
I'm not in regular communication with her.
The ByteDance editor-in-chief is Zhong Fuping, correct?
I believe so.
And Wu Shugang is Beijing ByteDance technology board member and also an official of the Cyberspace Administration in China. Is this correct?
I believe so. They are not in direct.
Thank you. All of these individuals work or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, are at the highest levels of leadership at ByteDance, a company where you previously served as the chief financial officer and where you regularly communicate with their CEO. TikTok has told us that you weren't sharing data with the CCP, but leaked audio from within TikTok has proven otherwise. TikTok told us that you weren't tracking the geolocation of American citizens. You were. TikTok told us you weren't spying on journalists. You were. In your testimony, you state that ByteDance is not beholden to the CCP. Again, each of the individuals I listed are affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, including Zhong Fuping, who is reported to be the Communist Party secretary of ByteDance, and who has called for the party committee to, quote, take the lead across all party lines to ensure the algorithm is enforced by, quote, correct political direction.
They asked him about keystrokes.
According to an August 2022 article in the New York Times, TikTok's in-app web browser can track every individual keystroke made by a user. We have heard today about the various ways in which the app's code could be used to monitor or track users, and likewise, we've heard concerns that this data may not be fully isolated from access by the Chinese Communist Party. That said, I'd like to know more about the historical, non-public U.S. personal data that your company has already amassed. Mr. Chu, you have publicly stated that the non-public information of TikTok users in the United States is being transferred to an Oracle-based cloud infrastructure because of safety concerns. Will that be completed by the end of this week, by the end of this month? What's the outline for dealing with that data that you've already amassed?
All new data is already stored by default in this Oracle Cloud infrastructure with the
No, I'm talking about the data that you've already amassed.
We are in the process of deleting.
What timeline will that data be able to be stored?
I believe we will be able to get it done this year. I'm hiring.
This year, thank you. It's not going to occur anytime soon.
If you log into TikTok and it's on your phone, they can literally find out if you're human or if you're a bot, which he says that's the only function that they serve. But they can also track your texts. They can see what's on your phone. They have full access through that app. And it's a foreign, hostile government.
India banned the use of TikTok in their country in 2020. New Zealand has banned the installation of TikTok on devices connected to the country's parliamentary network. Canada banned the installation of TikTok on government devices. The United Kingdom has banned the TikTok app from government-owned devices. Belgium banned the TikTok from government phones. The European Union banned the installation of TikTok on government devices. All cited security risks with the company's data collection and connection to the Chinese Communist Party. Recently, our U.S. FBI Director Christopher Wray said about TikTok, quote, "This is a tool that is ultimately within the control of the Chinese government, and to me, it screams out with national security concerns." Mr. Chu, how can all of these countries and our own FBI director have been wrong?
I think a lot of risks that are pointed out are hypothetical and theoretical risks. I have not seen any evidence. I'm, eagerly awaiting discussions where we can talk about evidence. and we then can address the concerns that are being raised.
A current TikTok employee told Forbes that nearly anyone with basic access to company tools, including employees in China, can easily look up the closest contacts and other sensitive information about any user. This current TikTok employee also said, quote, "If you want to start a movement, if you want to divide people, if you want to do any of the operation to influence the public on the app, you can just use that information to target those groups." Why would Mr. Chu, why would a current TikTok employee say this if it wasn't true?
This is a recent article. I have asked my team to look into it. As far as I know, we have rigorous data access protocols. There's really no such thing where anybody can get access to tools.
All right.
So I disagree with a lot of the conclusions.
But our government has banned TikTok usage from, or for government officials, for U.S. government officials. They can't have it on their phone. That's how big of a risk it is using this app. Our citizens don't understand it, and a lot of them don't care because they don't understand how dangerous that is to have any government monitoring everything you do on your phone, using your camera, using your speakers. They can hear everything. They don't need a wiretap. You voluntarily put it on your phone. It's already always been concerning when Google, Facebook, Instagram, they geo-track you and they can tell where you are, and based on that they can make suggestions. But when you have a hostile government doing it, what are they doing? What kind of trends are they really following for you? They know when you're asleep. They know what you watch on your phone. They know who your contacts are. They know your politics. They know everything about you. They literally can tell you everything about you. And it's always been a concern when it came to Google, but for some reason, no one cares when it comes to TikTok because everyone loves it. They're not just putting, oh, here, you can check in here and you can check in there, people know where you're at. They're literally controlling everything you see and almost able to control emotions based on your feeds. That was one of the biggest issues with Facebook and Twitter, is they feed you what they think you want to see and therefore control what you input. They can make you angry tomorrow if they want by sharing a bunch of really depressing stories or angering stories that they know interest you because they know all of your interests. So I thought it was a very fascinating look at this guy consistently saying, well, yeah, but all of the Americans' information is kept here in America, and then that being sideswiped and say, yeah, but they already admitted that that information has been accessed several times by the Chinese government. There are tons of corporations in the United States now that do not allow TikTok on their employees' phones because of industrial espionage. That's always been a concern. They've always done it. They just now have new ways to do it. You have that app on your phone. They have full access to everything.
It's not owned or controlled by the Chinese government. It's a private company.
Mr. Chu, has ByteDance spied on Americans at the direction of the Chinese Communist Party?
No.
Has ByteDance spied on American citizens?
I don't think that spying is the right way to describe it.
All right.
We're committed to be very transparent with our users about what we collect. I don't believe what we collect is more than most players in the industry.
My problem here is you're trying to give the impression that you're going to move away from Beijing and the Communist Party. You're trying to give the impression that you're a good actor. But the commitments that we would seek to achieve those goals are not being made today.
I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data. They have never asked us. We have not provided.
Well, you know what? I find that actually preposterous.
You couldn't take action after 41 days when a clear threat, a very violent threat to the chairwoman of this committee and the members of this committee was posted on your platform. You damn well know that you cannot protect the data and security of this committee or the 150 million users of your app.
The algorithm drives a great user experience for many, many users. Yes, there are some bad actors who come in and post violative content, and it's our job to remove them. But the overwhelming experience is a very positive one.
It is literally a spy weapon of war. They can do anything. I think it's interesting, and I'm going to share what I thought were some pretty amazing takeaways from that hearing, because it seems as if the Chinese government has total control of the United States, and it definitely has control over our president now that we know all the money that they've paid out to his son and the rest of his family. What is China's real plan? What are they doing? They're already surpassing us on the foreign policy stage. It's funny because everyone said that would happen under Trump, but it's all happening now. They're brokering all the deals now that Biden's supposed to be brokering. He's just sitting there letting it happen. Why? Because Biden paid for it.